Good evening, everyone. My name is Matt Woodruff. I'm an assistant professor at Emory University. I'm also a co-host of the podcast Audio Immunity. Um, I've been posting these videos now for a little more than a month. February 7th or so was the first one I felt compelled to record. Those of you that have been watching know that I've been trying to keep you all updated on some of the rapid fire science policies that come or have come through the Trump administration over the past maybe month and a half, 2 months now, since January 21st, when the administration took office. There are a bunch of YouTube videos that you can go check out if you want a deep recap of everything. But we've been dealing with a number of policies coming from a number of different directions. The first videos were about change to indirect costs associated with grants, which would have a huge impact on basically every major research university. There was cutting of DEI grant initiatives, which we talked about are not actually targeted for the most part at DEI initiatives. They're just killing grants that are otherwise fine. We've talked about a bunch of things, but one of the things that I've discussed over that time is that we really were kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. And you might be surprised by that because it might have felt like the um the stuff that was happening was already pretty bad. And it was. But I think I've mentioned a couple times that one of the things that the administration did when they first came through the door was they essentially swung as big a club as they could, right? So the indirect cost policy was not a targeted policy in any meaningful way. It was basically just a blunt tool to smack at academic science. Right, and it had an effect, sent everybody into a panic. There are a lot of schools that are struggling to figure out what they're going to do if those costs change. But one of the things that I warned, I think, was that all of this was off to the side of this other big thing that was happening, which was that RFK Jr. was being confirmed as Secretary of Health and Human Services. So everything that has happened up until this point has really been a generic Doge sort of Trump administration, cross the board hack and slash effort. One of the major concerns that I've had is what it looks like when a vaccine denier and someone that truly does not know what he's talking about is running Department of Health and Human Services. And so we are now almost 2 months into the administration, getting close, actually, really only a month and a half. But it seems that we have waited long enough. So, those of you following the news know that there has been a measles outbreak in West Texas. It has spread to New Mexico. There hasn't, as far as I can tell, been any meaningful response by the CDC to contain the outbreak. Our Health and Human Services Secretary has told us that measles outbreaks happen all the time, which one is not true. And two, the reason that they stop when they happen is there is a mobilized campaign to send people to the site of the initial infection and make sure that everyone around those infections are vaccinated. One of the things that I didn't mention at the top of this, of course, is that a significant number of CDC employees have been fired. So it's not clear exactly who it is that would go to Texas now and do that work. So, measles continues to spread in the southern and southwestern United States. A child has died, probably more will come. And so you might be wondering what the response has been from RFK Jr. And we learned that today through a couple memos that have been sort of working their way through the press. But basically, what has been decided is that we are going to stop funding all grants that study vaccine hesitancy and are trying to figure out how to help people understand that vaccination will decrease their risk of infection. So while we have a wildly infectious disease raging through West Texas, we have decided to stop studying how it is we might do a better job getting people vaccinated. which is cool. And then, in addition to that, we have also decided, it seems, that we are going to halt current and probably future mRNA-based vaccination efforts, period. Which, to be honest with you, is personally catastrophic. Our lab is built on a couple really cool ideas. Um, Several of them require mRNA-based technology. There are a lot of next generation therapies that are sort of coming through the pipe using this idea that we might be able to change the way that cells behave by introducing short-term instructions and helping cure autoimmune disorders, helping treat cancer. Some really cool programs that we're involved in that really could be a direct target of all of this. So it is hard to see how any of those programs really move forward because, of course, even if you were to find private funding, hard to imagine that the current Trump FDA is going to even be open to considering some of these next generation therapies, because that I'll be terrified of running afoul of a guy that has a general inclination that mRNA vaccines are bad. Um, which means that there won't be any private funding, right? It means that if you have a financial stake in the development of any of these technologies, you're probably not going to fund it because the FDA is not going to approve it, which means that you're not going to market it. So functionally, what we have done here is we have decided as a country, without much fanfare, that the entire investigation around mRNA vaccination, and hopefully not mRNA-based therapies, but who knows? Everything that we've seen to this point does not indicate that they're taking any meaningfully hard look at anything that they're cutting. So the very likely result of that is I'm going to have a very challenging conversation with the folks in my lab about what projects do and do not have life going forward. The answer to that, unfortunately, is going to be a significant number of them, and we will have to figure out what to do next. So that is what quietly killing off an entire scientific field looks like. So glad you've been on this ride with me. I'm sure there'll be more to come. I'll let you know as things develop. All right. Have a good night.